So I'd like to welcome you to this, this event tonight to learn more about Gettysburg College, an outstanding liberal arts and sciences college located in central Pennsylvania. And what we're excited about tonight is the opportunity to get to know you and to share with you some experiences that we've had as faculty members on the campus, and to facilitate helping you get to know us better and to answer questions that you may have on your mind. As I said, Gettysburg College is a liberal arts and sciences institution. We are a residential institution, and we have a deep commitment. The faculty has a deep commitment to teaching undergraduate students in this residential campus community. And we talk a lot about community at Gettysburg College. And we'll probably say more about that in the time to come. My name is Chris Zappe. I am the Provost of Gettysburg College. The translation of that is I'm the Dean of the faculty, and I work with my faculty colleagues across 3 divisions to deliver outstanding educational experiences to you, the prospective students and future students. We are excited to be with you tonight. We have 3 different faculty members who will be participating in our discussion, and they come from different parts of the curriculum. And so I really hope that you will enjoy and learn a lot about us. And I think one of the keystones of tonight is that we're going to welcome questions from you to drive our conversation. So I'm going to start and turn the podium over to Dina Lowy.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dina Lowy. I am the East Asian historian in the history department. And I think for the purposes of today's panel, I'm representing the humanities. I'm also connected in many ways to different programs and departments across campus, which is one of my favorite parts about Gettysburg, is the kinds of connections that you can make. So as I said, I'm the East Asian historian, lots of stuff on Japan and China, East Asia, some world history as well. So I have very close ties with our East Asian Studies department, as well as our International and Global Studies department, both of which are interdisciplinary programs and near and dear to my heart, although I am fully ensconced in history, and I have just stepped in as chair of the history department this year. So happy to talk to you about these various programs. I'm a big fan of study abroad, so I'd be happy to talk about those kinds of things. Our first year seminar program. There's all kinds of really fun stuff we do on this campus. So I'm looking forward to your questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Lowy. We'll now turn to Professor Funk.
Hi, my name is Tim Funk. I am the current chair of the chemistry department at Gettysburg, and I'm here to represent the natural sciences, mathematics, and computer science. So if you have any questions that relate to any of those kinds of areas, I'm probably the one to talk to about that. We have a really nice, Professor Zappe, Provost Zappe noted the idea of community, and we have a really great science community on campus. We have an institution called the Cross-Disciplinary Science Institute at Gettysburg that encourages collaborations among science students and other faculty members that are in the sciences. So if you have questions, especially about research opportunities and those kinds of things happening on campus, where undergraduate students are able to work directly with faculty, commonly results in publications, I'm happy to talk about those kinds of things. Or any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Professor Funk. And now I'll turn it over to Professor Baltaduonis.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. My long and strange name means that I'm not from the United States. Originally, I'm from Lithuania, but have lived here for 20 years already, and happily at Gettysburg College worked for 12 years. I am an associate professor in the Department of Economics. My 2 areas of research expertise is energy economics and experimental economics. In fact, I'm chairing the Gettysburg Lab for Experimental Economics, which is a very unique lab for liberal arts and sciences institutions. I just finished running one of the experiments with one of my students, helping me to do that. Lots of students who come to Gettysburg College and are interested in economics end up being research assistants to various faculty, but also can work in GLEE, and that's the short name for Gettysburg Lab for Experimental Economics. As my colleagues, I enjoy interacting with other departments as well, and have chaired the International Affairs Program, which now is called International and Global Studies, that Professor Dina Lowy just finished chairing last year. So we are really excited to be a community and to interact across the programs. I have led a few groups in study abroad, but of course, many of our students enjoy studying in different countries through the various programs that we offer. And I'll mention last that first year seminar program that all our students coming in have to take is a really fun program to connect with the professors very closely. So right now I teach first year seminar that's called an experimental avatar, discovering economics. That's where lots of my students who end up helping me with my research end up connecting with me.
Thank you, Rem. At this point, we'd like to respond to some questions that you have. I want to remind everyone, just so we're all on the same page, that this session is being recorded. So just be mindful of that as you engage our panelists this evening. So one of the questions that's coming up in the question and answer is, one of the prospective students would like to hear about study abroad program, and also any thoughts about this studio arts program. Maybe we could start with study abroad. Would anyone like to take the first step on that? Dina.
I said it's one of the things I like to talk about because I'm a huge fan, but I would say as an institution, we have support from the administration down to the faculty. We have a wonderful Center for Global Education, which is the fancy name for our study abroad office. And as I like to say, a gabillion programs that we connect with, give or take a few. So you can go to lots of places around the world. We have a variety of kinds of programs we connect with as well. A lot of the more sort of traditional, connect with a university in another country, study with other international students, take classes, maybe in the local language, but also in English, content courses in English, things like that. And you're on a campus and in that kind of setting. We also have the maybe non-traditional version where you're in a smaller group. You're doing maybe a seminar for a month, and then you're kind of going off, doing a homestay, maybe living in a community, doing independent research, working on a project. Different styles, different students like different things, and it gets you to different parts of the world. So I could start rattling off countries, but if you picked a country, there's a good chance we have something there or nearby. Because we do encourage it. We also make it very easy for students to transfer things like financial aid. Your grades, your transcript automatically roll back into Gettysburg. I don't want to misspeak, but I think we might help a little with airfare. We want you to go out and see the world and bring it back to us and into the classroom and into your interactions and share that and enhance our community. So we're big fans.
Thank you, Professor Lowy. That was really helpful. Thank you. There's some questions that we're seeing in the chat, and we'd like to try to respond to as many as we can. I'd like to ask one of my colleagues to talk about, can you actually combine majors? Can you pursue double majors? And in one case, one of our guests is asking, can I combine both economics and sociology? So that might be a question for our social scientists, Rem.
So absolutely. Many of our students double major in social sciences or across the disciplines. So in humanities, in sciences, natural sciences, and as well in conservatories. So we had a wonderful conservatory here at Gettysburg College. If you play an instrument and would like to continue improving your skills, Gettysburg College is a place for you to be and continue learning about myriad of other things and pursuing the disciplines. In addition to double majoring, you can also minor in some disciplines. So most of the programs will have a minor degree, and I have multiple advisees that will do 2 majors and a minor. Recently, we started offering data science minor at Gettysburg College. Business minor is another option that you can pursue. And it's really up to a student to build the curriculum that fits your interests. So the flexibility at Gettysburg College is very broad, and we are very proud of that. And as Dina mentioned, going abroad does not mean that you will have to sort of carve out a semester and sort of like go on a tangent. In fact, everything ties in very well. And because we are able to offer the study abroad programs in pretty much any part of the world, depending on your interests, and I saw that there was a question about public policy, whether that would be restricting your study abroad options. Absolutely not. So really would be able to pursue a lot of interests because public policy could be just one piece of your Gettysburg education. You could do study abroad that connects maybe with other interests that you have.
Dina, you want to add something? Yep.
I should let Tim speak, but I was going to jump in here. So we do have a lot of students that double major. But again, I like to remind students, you only need one. But it is very possible to do more. And the other thing that helps to make that possible is the advising that goes on. And we spend a lot of time, we're here because we want to interact with students. We came to a place like Gettysburg for this very reason. And sitting down with the student and figuring out how to make all of their interests connect is actually like the happy part of my day. And I always think of the example, you have standard with history. We have a lot of history poli-sci double majors. Those are sort of a natural fit. There history English is another common one. But I had a student a couple of years back who was a history computer science double major. Don't see a whole lot of them, but again, anything's possible. And he happened to do his senior capstone with me, and we were talking about capstone projects. I do a senior seminar on the Pacific War. And I looked at him and I said, want to do something on code breaking? And he went, I can do that. Like, vitally important to the success of the Pacific in the Pacific. Right. And you have some background in cryptography from your computer science programming, courses that he had taken. And he wrote a fabulous paper and enjoyed doing it. And those are the wonderful connections we like to do.
Thank you, Dina. There's a question here that I want to share with, and I'm sure he's seen it. Professor Funk, did you address the double major in the sciences? You can actually pursue, can you pursue multiple majors in the sciences at once?
Yeah, sure. You absolutely can do that. And there's a couple of different majors that we have new majors that include multiple disciplines in a single major. So for example, there's kind of the traditional disciplines of chemistry and biology and physics, but we also have a biochemistry and molecular biology major. That's kind of a hybrid of biology and chemistry. We have a lot of folks who major in chemistry and physics. It's also fairly common for students to major in one science and perhaps minor in another. You don't necessarily, like Professor Lowy said, you don't necessarily need to have 2 full majors, but sometimes the experience that you get from a minor kind of gives you that kind of special tweak to the major interest that you have. And there's another question about computer science and history, and Professor Lowy already addressed that, but we also have a lot of folks that are working towards working in the digital humanities. So having experience with computer science and history can actually be really important, and that can be really valuable. And there's research projects that are happening on campus and other kinds of initiatives where that can really work nicely.
There's a question that I guess is one of our guests this evening is talking about the sense of community around athletics. I know that, we're talking about academic things tonight, but would any of our panelists like to comment on the role that athletics play in being successful undergraduate students at Gettysburg College? Go for it.
Sure, I can talk about that. I would say one of the advantages of athletics is that it gives you a group of people that you can kind of, especially if you come in involved in athletics as a first-year student, it can often give you a community to be around where you have a shared interest right off the bat. And a lot of students really like that, to kind of take comfort in that and spend some time with other folks that have a common interest. As a Division III school, what that means is that athletics are kind of part of the whole college experience that you have, but they're not the exclusive reason that you're here. We do not offer any scholarships for athletics, and your academics take kind of precedence over the athletics. So it's a community where lots of students are involved in collegiate level athletics, and even more are involved in club level or intramural athletics. So kind of athletics that you're not traveling to other schools and playing them, but you're just kind of getting out there, getting exercise. It's a huge part of a lot of people's lives. So there's all different kinds of levels that you can get involved in, depending upon what your interest and what how serious you are about it. But I think it's, for a lot of people, it is a really important part of their time and the community that they build around themselves.
Can I just add one more thing? So athletics is very good and great way to meet friends and connect with other people. But in addition to students who sort of pursue athletics and beyond the teams at Gettysburg College, we have a very vibrant intramural sports community that just pursue all kinds of sports, and they try something one semester and then switch to something else another semester. So if you don't want to be professional, so to speak, in athletics, you can be engaged in sports at the intramural level.
And I would just throw in again the connection, what Tim kind of said, that, we are, you would be a scholar athlete. The emphasis is on academics here. Coaches check in with professors and make sure their students are doing okay. I think sports are actually, I'm a huge fan, and I think they're a wonderful thing to participate in, great stress relief and all the rest. They're also good for time management, because if you're busy practicing and going to games and all the rest, it actually forces you to really have to schedule yourself. So I think there's, it does eat up time, but it also helps you make the most of the time that you do have. So, and the other thing is, if you let your professors know what sports teams you are, what activities you're in, what orchestras you're in, things like that, faculty like to show up at things.
Great. So I think some of our guests are asking about how they might participate in an internship or research opportunity, in their major or in areas of interest. Does anybody want to talk a little bit about undergraduate research and internships?
Happy to jump in. So we have Center for Career Development that can be a great resource if you wonder what your career should be, right? And so we have opportunities like externships or shadow opportunities that are shorter in time. And maybe you go and visit our alum for a few days, shadow them, and you realize that the career that you really wanted to pursue is not really for you. And that's a great way to find out that early on. And then during the summers, usually our students pursue internships, and either through our very broad alumni network or through the fairs that the college organizes. And you can get either half credit or full credit, even academic credit for the internships that you do.
Thank you, Rim. Anybody want to add, Dina?
I was going to add to that a couple of things that we have internally. So we have a wonderful research opportunity available in the summertime known as the Colby Fellowships. These are open to all students in the humanities and social sciences. The sciences have other research opportunities, and Tim, maybe you'll address that in a second. But this is because students in the humanities and social sciences don't have the opportunity to work in the lab with a professor, but this is a chance for independent research that is faculty mentored. So the student comes up with a project, approaches a professor to work with them, and spends 10 weeks in the summer getting paid to do their research and to work at least once a week, if not more, in person with a mentor, with a faculty mentor. Usually ending up producing something sort of like article length or a project of some sort. There have been museum exhibitions that students have curated and put together and then do in our gallery on campus. There have been a variety of different things, but I would say a paper is often the product, which is then often presented at a conference. Sometimes it's published in an undergraduate journal, that kind of thing. So the research opportunities are there, and that's again within the college. We also have a internship program called the Pohanka Interns. This is run through the Civil War Institute, and it is, again, summer internships at national parks and museum sites. Kind of up and down the East Coast. I'm not sure we go too much further than that, but a whole variety of sites, a bunch of Civil War things, but not exclusively Civil War. It's, again, any major can apply for these, so it is an opportunity that it's available to all of our students.
So a really interesting question, or Tim, go ahead, and then I'll ask that.
Sorry, I was just going to say very briefly, taking advantage of our alumni network is really a powerful tool, and a lot of faculty are connected to those folks too. So in addition to some of these other resources we have, just individual faculty connections can often be beneficial. In the sciences, we actually have many research experience opportunities, both during the academic year as well as over the summer. So folks that might be interested in doing research in the sciences, this past summer, for example, we had, I think it was about 70 Gettysburg College students on campus this summer doing research with a collection of faculty in the natural sciences. And those are 8-week programs where you get paid, you get housing on campus, and you just spend, it's full-time, it's essentially is your job, but it's a job where you're just doing research the whole time, working with faculty members. And so, like I said, those often turn into semester and year-long projects. Those are really great experiences, and they give you insight into whether or not research is something that you're interested in.
Thank you, Professor Funk. So this is a really great question. I really am excited about this one. What is your favorite part of teaching at Gettysburg? And I'd like to hear from each of our 3 panelists. We probably have different perspectives on this.
Maybe I'll go first, if nobody minds. I love it when people think what I'm going to teach them is going to be really hard, and then it clicks. And it's all of a sudden not as hard anymore. So I teach organic chemistry, and I teach some other things in that area. And most of the students that I teach aren't necessarily excited about chemistry, but they kind of have to take one of my main courses that I teach. And when you can make them realize that this discipline totally applies to other things that they're interested in. It applies to medicine, it applies to any sort of health professions, it applies to understanding biology on a molecular level. When people kind of realize, oh, this information here applies to this over here, which applies to this over here, when people start making those kinds of connections and start kind of thinking like scientists and realize that it's way more than like memorizing facts and regurgitating, but it's about solving problems and combining things and being creative. I get the chills every time I think about that.
In a similar fashion, again, as I've already said, I'm the East Asian historian at a place that when people come to Gettysburg and they're interested in history, they usually like American Civil War history, or they've reenacted, or American history in general. And I get the joy of saying, there's other parts of the world, and there's other parts of the world that, viewed things differently, or developed similarly, but at different times, and so that ability to introduce a more global approach to my fairly American history oriented students is exciting for me. And a favorite thing is the students, and just how engaged they are, and how willing they are to learn different things, kind of along what Tim was just saying, that they're willing to let their minds be opened. And that's very exciting for us. I also love the creativity that I'm encouraged to have here in innovative teaching, workshops on changing things up, in design of courses. We get the freedom, we teach standard stuff, and I teach a history of modern Japan, but I also teach a global history of tea, because I was allowed to design that, and I love it. And it combines several of my interests, but it gives students a world history perspective on things. So I'll stop there.
I love that my teaching very often grows into research opportunities with students. Sometimes I look back at my graduate studies, and I envy the undergraduate students at Gettysburg College that they get to interact with the faculty so much. And then they have resources to do that. When I start first year seminar that I mentioned to you about an experimental avatar, and I get small class to talk and show them what I'm really passionate about. And they are not necessarily interested in economics, and they go on their different paths, and we run into each other on campus, in the dining halls, in the library, and then we continue talking. And then maybe in their junior year, they come back and take another class with me, and then we end up working on a project, and we have this fascinating lab where we can run experiments that frankly, many of my colleagues at the liberal arts schools envy. That's what I like, that during the 4 years, right from the first year all the way to the end, we end up growing as a family, as people know what's going on in your life, what interests you have. When you study abroad, I'll check with you because you might be, for example, learning something about energy in that country, and I have interest in that. And so that's really what fascinates me about being a scholar teacher at Gettysburg College, because teaching and scholarship and community all ties in into one.
So there's a question in the Q&A about mathematics at Gettysburg College, as well as the different tracks in business offered at the school. Does anybody want to take a crack at one of those? I guess math may fall under Tim, but.
Sure, I can talk about at least the math perspective. In the math department, there's, I guess it's a little tough just talking about mathematics. I'm not sure what kinds of questions you might have about it, but there's a lot of folks. So math is such a foundational, math plays such an important role in so many different disciplines in so many different areas that there's lots of folks that take math classes that don't end up being math majors, or they major in math as well as something else. So you see a lot of folks that have a math major and then a second major where they're finding these applications, or a math minor, and maybe they even take a handful of other courses that kind of fulfill their interests and fit with whatever other thing they might be majoring in. There's kind of the more traditional kind of abstract math, what I sometimes refer to as math for the sake of math. There's lots of opportunities to do that kind of math. There's also lots of opportunities in applied mathematics, and actually that's a place that's growing in the math department. They have recently made a number of hires that are focused more on kind of applied aspects of mathematics, so things that might tie into engineering and physics, things like that. So that's a little bit about the math department. There's some breadth there. I'm going to let somebody else tackle the questions about business.
Let me add, Tim, to what you just mentioned. So in the economics department, we offer Bachelor of Science in Mathematical Economics. And that's a little bit similar to what Tim talks about when you have applied mathematics. So that's the degree that lots of students who want to pursue, for example, graduate studies in finance, PhD in economics, public policy, they take because it's teaching more rigorous analytical quantitative methods and abstract thinking together with the questions that are more applied. And so that degree has grown over years, and we are very excited to see our students ending up in top graduate programs to pursue either the master's or PhD programs, or when they end up working for really great companies in the investment banking, Amazon, Facebook, lots of companies that need data science and analytics capabilities. That's a great major to pursue. I'll mention a few things about the business organization and management major that Gettysburg College is offering now. So students who want to pursue more entrepreneurial paths, management careers, that's the major that is available to you. You can always do business minor and then tag that onto another major on campus if you want. But econ and business organization and management majors are the two programs that probably interact very closely with each other, and there are many courses that overlap, and you get to meet students from each of the programs all the time.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Rim. This is a really interesting question among many interesting questions. I think I'd like to ask my colleagues to talk about this one next. How does the day-to-day learning in a college class differ from a high school level class?
I'll jump in on that and say, and again, different high schools do things differently, but I would say there is an expectation at Gettysburg of a different level of engagement. We want to hear from you. We don't just stand in the front of a classroom and lecture at you. We purposely keep our class sizes fairly small so that we get to know your names. We get to hold discussions. Yeah, if we need to give you some short lecture background to start off with, we'll do that. But a lot of our classes are very focused on discussion. So you have to take some responsibility. You have to do the reading ahead of time. You have to come to class prepared. You have to come to class with a question or a comment to make. And then you get to hear what other people ask or have to say, and we help figure things out together. And there is a collaborative nature to the classroom, but there is an expectation that you will be engaged and that you will contribute to your own education and to my education.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else?
I would just add, in the sciences, I would say one of the biggest differences is the labs. The equipment that we have and the supplies and the instrumentation that we have is, again, I can't speak to what all high schools have, but I doubt most high schools have anywhere near the kinds of instrumentation that we have. Folks seek external funding to get major grants. I mean, we have many hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment and instrumentation that folks get to use. This isn't and the best part about being at a smaller school to do this kind of work is it's not like this is reserved for the faculty and the graduate students. There are no graduate students. Our Gettysburg College students as undergraduates use all of this equipment. And so this is hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that you get to play with.
And I'll say college is the place when you become much more independent and place where you have to take much more responsibility for your own life, for the community that you are a part of. And so we as faculty are here to facilitate that growth. So unlike in high school, where maybe you'll get much more guidance or even telling what to do, here we are to empower you to become independent and more responsible.
Thank you. Oh, I know we're getting some questions about support for internships, externships, and I want to kind of reiterate, we have a Center for Career Engagement at Gettysburg College. The Center for Career Engagement really can help you every step of the way toward finding your unique career path. And they help you through cultivating knowledge, skills, networks, and experiences that empower you to have the tools and the strategies to create and pursue meaningful futures. So I think you can count on that center along with your faculty, advisors, and mentors to provide a lot of support as you make plans for your life after Gettysburg College. Dina,
I was going to kind of jump in, and I think I've seen some things about careers on there, and it's a question we get a lot in history. What can you do with a history major? And so we're used to it. We have an answer for you, but it's the same. The answer is anything, and we have evidence to support that. So we have, history majors. Some of the standard things you might think of are teaching at the elementary, high school, college level. We have students who have been successful in all of those areas. Law, students have been successful in that. Some government work. We have students in the FBI and the CIA and Foreign Service. Library work, museum work, public history. So those are some of the standard things you would think of with history, but we also have people on Wall Street. We have a couple of medical doctors, believe it or not. Yeah, they had to do a little more extra science before going on to med school, but they still had a history undergrad degree. It's really anything, and that comes back to what Gettysburg gives you, and that's the liberal arts education. The ability to think, speak, write, communicate critically and responsibly. Translates to anything. Those are the skills that are being looked for, and what you do with them, where you take them, it can take you anywhere.
Terrific. Thank you, Dina. There's a question in the chat that I'd like to lift up. How does Gettysburg, our Gettysburg community, include diversity in academics? For example, are courses in the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies program taught by any LGBTQ TQ professors? If I can answer it, or if one of you would like to, that's fine too.
Let me just say to start that all departments at Gettysburg College care about diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and we want to create environment where no matter who you are, that you should be able to pursue the interests that you want. I'm myself gay, a professor in economics, and I'm very proud that my department cares about diversity a lot, and we have people of color and of various religions coming from different countries, and that's the spirit of Gettysburg College. So in addition to, I would say, the sort of visible diversity, we care about the diversity of opinions as well, which is important. That and we want to facilitate a very thoughtful dialogue between people with different opinions and with various differences. So I would say that's a really a hallmark of Gettysburg College.
Thank you, Rim. So how does Gettysburg College interact with the community, the local community, and what makes Gettysburg a good community to go to college in?
Immediately, I think of our wonderful Center for Public Service that makes direct connections in our community nationally and internationally. So there's all kinds of programming that goes on through our public service center, but connections to our local community. We have a fairly large Spanish speaking section of our local community. And there's a lot of interaction between Spanish classes, between a variety of classes, environmental studies classes that do local work with the farming communities around us. There's a real effort to connect and to connect the students directly and in meaningful ways to the community. So we do have that as a wonderful resource. I'll let others jump in about there are other ways we connect as well.
I love that Dina mentioned that our ties with the community is not just local, that it's also at the national level and even international level. We have an hour and a half away from Washington, D.C., where in fact Gettysburg College has presence with the Eisenhower Institute, and there's lots of programming happening there, and students go on field trips to Washington, D.C. a lot. We are just 40 minutes away from Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania, 3 hours or 4 hours short from New York City, and 2 hours from Philadelphia. Lots of faculty will take students on field trips to museums, to companies, to government agencies, to non-governmental organizations. And very often that becomes sort of the trampoline for internships and job opportunities as well. But I'll also mention the things that around Gettysburg, they can be also fascinating. So the battlefield and the trails that surround us, you can run for miles and miles and enjoy the beautiful countryside scenery. When orchards around Gettysburg bloom is unbelievable. And the famous Appalachian Trail goes just 30 minutes away from Gettysburg College, and you can go and hike on that trail on the weekends.
I do think there's value in noting that using the term city in Gettysburg is not is not correct, just because of the size. Where Gettysburg College is in a very nice little town, but there's it's pretty rural. Now we're not that too far from Washington, D.C. We're not too far from Baltimore, so it's not that we're super far away from urban areas. But where we are specifically located is a pretty small town where you can walk to lots of different places. But as Rim was saying, there's lots of opportunities for, if you enjoy spending time in nature, there's lots of great opportunities for that.
I'd also like to throw in a plug for the Majestic Theater. The college is connected with this fabulous, refurbished, early 20th century theater in town that does live performances, that has 2 small arts movie theaters in it. Things are available to students for free or for reduced prices. Some wonderful performances come in, as well as performances that the college puts on through the theater department, through the conservatory. And that's another way to interact with the community, because community comes out to the theater as well. So another just wonderful thing we have in this small town we're in.
So one of the questions that that's been asked is, what is your favorite activity at Gettysburg? And I'd like to answer a question for once. We have a tradition now, as new students arrive, first-year students arrive and matriculate, they go on a walk from the campus itself, the Gettysburg College campus, to the location where, near where Abraham Lincoln made his famous speech in Gettysburg. And we call it the first-year walk. And the tradition is that a member of the Gettysburg community actually recites the Gettysburg address on this hallowed ground. It is a powerful and moving experience, at least for me. And I find it to be one of the most remarkable ways of connecting with a place at a particular time in one's life. The transition from being, at home to being in a college community, it's just a really magical experience. My colleagues may have some other ideas, but what are some of your favorite activities at Gettysburg?
I love running through the battlefield mornings. It's beautiful, but I'll say that when my friends and colleagues from other universities at Gettysburg, I love to take them on a ghost tour. Gettysburg is one of the most haunted places in the United States. And there are wonderful ghost tours that my friends found very amusing and fascinating in Gettysburg.
I was going to mention Thanksgiving dinner.
We
have a tradition on campus where we serve the students Thanksgiving dinner. It's usually a week or two before Thanksgiving, so before they leave us. And faculty and staff actually become the wait staff, but it is family style. So students get to sit at tables with 10 to 12 of them, and they will be presented with a whole turkey and a family style bowl of all of the fixings. And I love to stand back and watch students try to carve a turkey. It's really fun. But I also love the sheer joy that the students have in this event. And it might seem a little, at first I was like, you want me to go serve students? And a friend and colleague of mine convinced me to do this years back. And I did it and I had a ball. It was just so much fun to see the students enjoying themselves so much. And of course, COVID disrupted everything as it has for all of our lives, but we managed to hold Thanksgiving, what was it, in April this year? Because we didn't have a lot of students on campus last November. So, traditions have to keep going, and I look forward to it continuing.
So what kind of support do we provide to incoming students, first-year students? We typically don't use the word freshmen, but we talk about first-year students. So how do we support them, and what's unique about their educational opportunities and other opportunities?
I'm going to jump in with first-year seminar. I think that's, we have programming for first-year students through Student Life. There's a lot of ways we support first-year students, but from the academic side of things, first-year students are all enrolled in a first-year seminar. And that is an opportunity for a class of 16 or fewer, so a nice seminar style class, to get to know a professor, for the professor to get to know those students. And yes, we teach content and whatnot, but we also teach introduction to college life. How to figure out this change, how to negotiate, becoming more independent, as we talked about before, time management, the various activities that are available, and how to figure out what you want to join and how to join things. So there's a lot of that introduction to college life. There's a lot of mentoring and advising that goes on, even if not all the students in the class are going to be assigned to you as advisees. You're their informal advisor. And often, again, those relationships made in that first-year seminar continue all 4 years. Whatever major the students end up going into, and not all of them end up in your major, because the first-year seminars are sort of an interesting mix of topics and disciplines. But I think that's one of the best ways that we really welcome students in and help create a home for them on campus.
Thank you, Dina. That's a wonderful response. Anybody want to add anything? Or?
Yeah, let me just mention that along with the faculty advisor that you get when you arrive to Gettysburg College, you also get student success advocate. The administrator from College Life Division is assigned to first-year seminar, and that's another set of eyes and person you can talk to and ask questions about the college. And that really allows us to tie the curriculum and co-curriculum opportunities for you at Gettysburg College. So you can take make the most of the experience at Gettysburg College. So when you arrive, you get a lot of support, and then it's up to you to use as much as you want.
Thank you. We have just a couple more questions yet to talk about. So student interest in public policy. I don't have the numbers, but I would say it's fair to say that the interest level in public policy is rising significantly. It is a very interesting major or area of study for our students, and I would say that it's increasing at a non-trivial rate.
I was just going to say, can somebody speak briefly then about the Eisenhower Institute as well and how that kind of ties in?
I was going to say just a little bit more about public policy. Again, it is a very popular, increasingly popular major. It is one of maybe the only one that still requires a second major. So it is not a standalone major. So you do need to. We talked about double majors before. If you want to do public policy, you have to have something else alongside it. It also, within the public policy program, has built in an internship experience. So there's questions about internships before. That's part of public policy, and they will help you get placed in that. And then the connection, the Eisenhower Institute is again part of our Gettysburg connection, not only with President Lincoln, but with President Eisenhower, who retired to Gettysburg. And the older part of the admissions building is the former Eisenhower home. There's also an Eisenhower farm in Gettysburg, and we have strong connections there. The Institute, I believe, set up by his granddaughter, Susan Eisenhower, is a connection with DC. There's an office in DC. There's an office right here on campus that does programming for the students, that does field trips and whatnot for the students, getting them into DC, introducing them to policy makers in government and in non-governmental organizations. But there are multiple good opportunities for students. And again, open to all students. You don't have to be a public policy major. You don't have to be a political science major. It's open to all students to participate in any of their programming.
I would add that Susan Eisenhower is one of the people who provide programming, and she is very welcoming to have students from all class years to participate in the program. It's, it is a very inclusive program, and I think you would find that the Eisenhower Institute at Gettysburg College is a highly distinctive program, one that you might not find at other liberal arts colleges. We're running close to the end of our hour. There's one more question, a couple of questions. Do faculty take part in service work alongside students? For example, the Painted Turtle Farm. Anybody want to comment on that?
I don't know. Go ahead, man.
I'm not particularly familiar with anybody that is connected to Painted Turtle Farm, but I know that many of our faculty work with the Center for Public Service through the community-based research programs and community-based and service connected programs in their courses. So there's both curricular dimension of this, and then co-curricular and as well scholarly dimension to the engagement of community, various service opportunities on campus and beyond.
Yes, I know Professor Wilson in environmental studies was instrumental in getting the Painted Turtle Farm up and running. I believe the intent was to get that more into student hands, student and community hands. That's a wonderful resource on campus. And as Rim said, there are service learning trips in January over spring break, some in early summer, that are faculty led as well.
So we have a question about how people act, or what policy would you enact to address a current social injustice present at a nearby community. Obviously, we care deeply about the well-being of our students, both physically and emotionally and intellectually, and we are not tolerant of those people who are disrespectful to people who are different from them. We promote an inclusive community, one where everyone, and if we go to our mission statement and our values, if you read about us, we honor all of us. And there are times when we have unfortunate interactions among students, typically around certain circumstances, and we will take action to help protect those who are affected by these kinds of events, and to help promote better practices and learning throughout one's time on campus. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that, but we are committed to a diverse and inclusive community. And community is the foundation of Gettysburg College.
No, I'll mention that what made me very proud of the college was that when the administration was not very open and accepting to the dreamers and the students who came in with the immigrant parents, that the college was very supportive of the students and stood with them and not disclosing the information to the government and supporting them as much as they can so they can pursue and finish their studies at Gettysburg College. And I was very happy to be part of the community like that.
We've also had rallies and vigils and town halls that have taken place on our campus that have helped students and faculty and staff express themselves as part of a community, feel that their voices are heard, and has helped, I think, cope with some very difficult issues, local and broader than local. Again, as a community, and showing that our strength is in working together.
I just want to thank all of you who joined our conversation tonight. I hope that you continue to take an interest in our campus community and what Gettysburg College has to offer. And we look forward to getting to know you further and helping you make this really consequential decision for your undergraduate education. And I just want to thank once again Dina Lowy, Rim Baltaduonis, and Tim Funk for their time and their contributions to this tonight. On behalf of Gettysburg College, we wish you well and I hope you have a lovely end of the week. Thank you.